The boy Crypto. You either love him or hate him. But most of the time, the reason why I see people aren't liking Crypto is just purely because they're using him wrong. So I'm just going to go over a few tips of how you should be using Crypto, ways that you can be using Crypto to make him extremely good. There's a reason that you'll see pros run Crypto, and that's because they know how to use him correctly, and they know how to utilize his kit for the best possible outcome. Without further ado, let's get into it. Just before we go, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like the video as well. It truly is the only way that I know if you enjoy the video. And if you didn't know, you can now join as a member to this channel. That is completely optional. It is completely up to you. It just shows a little bit more support to this channel. So if that's something you want to do, make sure to hit that join button. So obviously Crypto's kit mainly relies around his drone, and the reason why he gets so much stick and the reason why players get so much stick of playing Crypto is because people spend way too much time in the drone and not actually in the game. Now this can cause all sorts of problems like lagging behind your teammates, not being in the fight because you're miles away just sat in your drone, and sometimes they're just in the drone doing absolutely nothing when you could literally be in the fight just shooting your gun, which is going to help your team massively. So how do you play Crypto properly, and how do you utilize him in gunfights? So the first thing I would say to you with Crypto is you need to be out of that drone as much as possible. The only time you should be in the drone is for 4 things. Number 1, scanning the beacons, because it's going to be a free map rune scan for the whole of the map for a few seconds so you can find out where the enemy team is. You'll see this at the end of the video. This can be extremely good in endgames because you can scan these beacons when you wouldn't normally be able to because there's teams all around you. You can just quickly hop in the drone, scan the beacon, and get loads of information. The second time you should be in the drone is for setting it up so you don't get shot in the back. Now what I mean by this is if you've got a choke that you've just come through and you're expecting a team to come through there as well, but you might be concerned about a team in front of you, and the best way to play this is focus on the team in front of you and just place your drone behind you. Place it in a little bit of cover so enemies can't just shoot it really easily, and what that'll do is it'll scan enemies coming through that choke point so you know if there's anybody coming up to flank you back. And it only takes a few seconds just to fly your drone up there, and sometimes if you're going through the choke, just throw your drone. You don't even need to fly it, just put it in a little area where it can cover your back. The third time, if absolutely necessary, use it for the EMP, but you should be doing this very quickly just before you plan on taking that gunfight, which is why sometimes it's better to just put it in a position and then EMP while you're outside of the drone so you can push instantly, because it is going to knock 50 shields off every single person within that radius. Just bear in mind that it is going to knock 50 shields off you as well if you are in that radius, so make sure you're just slightly outside of it and then push in straight after. And then finally, number 4, the only times you should be in your drone, of course you can swoop your teammates' banners and res them as well, which is really great because on the respawn beacon and the normal beacons, the map rune scans, you only have to tap it rather than spending like 5 or 6 seconds, whatever it is, actually holding down that button to res your teammates. So if you're in a really bad situation and you need to get a quick res off, or you need to get that beacon scanned as quickly as possible, make sure to utilize that drone every single time. Now one thing I do want to go over, like I said earlier, is the EMP. What I find a lot of people doing is just EMPing random teams that are miles away, and you're just going to get absolutely no benefit apart from a little bit of extra damage. What you should be doing is either throwing that drone into a team, backing out slightly and doing that EMP while you're outside of the drone, because you can just use it as long as your drone's up. You can hit that EMP while you're outside of the drone, or fly it into the team that you're pushing, and then just before you get to the team, hit your EMP, get the shields down, and then push in. If you utilize this correctly, it will give you such an advantage in the fight because all 3 of their team members, if they're stacked in that range of the EMP, are going to get hit 50 on their shields, and they're going to do one of either 2 things. They're either going to try and fight you off and they're going to be at a disadvantage already because you already hit them 50, or they're going to start healing, which is going to give you a really good entry to get into a building or get into the place that they're holding and start shooting, because they're not going to shoot you first if they're in the middle of a heal, and it basically just gives you the upper hand of a fight every single time. This does take a little bit of practice knowing when to EMP and when not to EMP. Obviously don't try and set your drone up in the middle of the open because you're just going to die, and sometimes it is just better just to shoot and not try and EMP. But if you can EMP them just before you go into the fight, it will give you that massive advantage. And then the other thing that I wanted to go over quickly that I just mentioned at the start, scanning the map room beacons. If you don't know what I mean by this, I'm on about the beacons that are accessible to crypto, where it'll tell you the position of all the enemies on the map. Now you'll see in the gameplay that I've put behind, right at the end, we come into one of the last circles and we've got quite a few teams up. Now at this moment, there is a map room scan available to me. However, there's a team in the building that I can't get to. So I just get that drone out really quickly, scan the beacon on top, and it actually tells me that there's an enemy behind me, so my team can focus on the enemies behind me before we start to push forward. If I had not scanned that, I wouldn't have known that, and I wouldn't be able to go up and just scan that because I just would have been shot straight off the beacon. It basically allows you and your team to go in the best spot possible and prevent as many third parties as possible by putting yourselves in that advantageous position. I really think if you utilize his equipment as good as possible, he can really be a top tier legend. But the problem is you find that people who play crypto are spending way too long just sat in that drone flying it about. This ain't a drone simulator. You ain't going to be doing your team any favors just sat in that drone. So the less time you spend in it in a game, the better. And I know what people are saying, well, if you're spending as less time in that drone as possible, what's the point of even playing crypto? Well, like I've just said, it has some really good benefits with that drone, and it only takes a few seconds to do those things. And it gives you the advantage of using things that aren't quite in your radius. The only downfall to him for me is that he doesn't have any movement. So if you do get stuck in a bad spot, you are going to get punished for it. But if you utilize his drone correctly and use those beacons, you shouldn't be putting yourself in that many bad spots. So, you know, you can get around that. I absolutely love playing crypto. For some reason, every time I play him, I always seem to do really well, which is why you'll notice I have unlocked my first heirloom and I've gone straight down to crypto, and I've been playing him an absolute ton more, and I'm really enjoying it, and I can actually see myself progressing a lot better with him. If you guys are crypto mains, let me know what you think of him. Let me know if I've missed any points out here that are really staple to crypto. And if you haven't tried him out before, go ahead, give him a try. Let me know what you think. It does take a bit of getting used to. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to hit that like button. Hope you guys are enjoying the gameplay behind it as well. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.